Hi guys, so I'm Thomas Leatherbarrow. I'm the CEO and International Culinary Director for TLC Gourmet. Yeah, hello and welcome. So today we're going to be doing a demonstration based on sort of the crossover between the end of summer to the beginning of autumn. So it's a chocolate mousse based dessert. So we're using a caramel flavoured mousse, a caramel flavoured chocolate to go into the mousse. And then we've got some spices along the way as well, some hazelnuts, some figs, a little bit of sumac to go into a nice yogurt microwave foam. So there's going to be a few little techniques in there that you're may not have tried before that you may be interested in learning. So we're going to go through them step by step, and you're going to see how to make each element. And then the standard of presentation that we host at dinner parties and when we do private catering for this dessert. Okay, so today the dish that we're going to make today is called Autumn Forest, and as I said before, it's basically designed about the contrast and crossover between summertime to autumn time, the change in seasonality of what's available, things coming to the end of season. The main foundation for this dish is a caramel chocolate mousse. So we're using Calabao's caramel flavoured chocolate. So rather than making a caramel and chocolate mousse, so it is a mousse based around a caramel flavoured chocolate. It's a very, very simple mousse made with boiled cream, whipped cream, the chocolate of course, and egg yolks, and that's it. Very simple, 4 ingredients. But it comes out as a very light, airy texture, and it can be piped, it can be quenelled. So this mousse you can use for almost anything across the board if you want to, whether it be desserts, whether it be trifles or dessert pots if you go into B&I catering and contract catering. So yeah, the mousse is very, very versatile. It can be done with dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate. You literally just have to change the quantity as per your milk and solid fat ratio. So it's very small callets. It's very, very temperamental in terms of heat and dexterity. So when you then end up microwaving things like that, you need to be very careful if you're going to temper it. It works absolutely wonderful, but you have to be aware of your temperature changes between tempering for standard white chocolate and milk chocolate. It's kind of in the middle is the sweet point for this chocolate. So then following on for that, we then got a nice integration of yogurt and spice into the dish. So the yogurt's going to give a real sort of bitter, acidic taste to it. The spice is the sumac, so it's going to be nice and fragrant, nice and vibrant in colour. And it's a microwave a microwave sponge. So the microwave sponge is very, very light, very airy. It's going to add a nice texture to the dish when plated, and you add a whole different feel. If you just make a trade sponge and tear it, you're going to get a completely different sort of finished product. So that's why we use the microwave sponge. So it's nice and aerated, nice and fluffy, and we can use all different shapes out of it and when we tear it up. So then also we're going to use Crumiel. So Crumiel is honey flakes, which is made from flowers. So it's dehydrated, roasted, dehydrated again, roasted again, and then dried. So we're going to make some very, very nice, almost like glass twills out of that, and break them up and use them in the dish. This is going to add texture to your dishes. So things like this is what you want to be aware of, is that if you've got very soft textures, you also want something that's very hard, crunchy, and also acidic, that's going to bring out the whole balance of the foundation of the dish. So the honey, yes, is very, very sweet. The chocolate is quite sweet as well. But then obviously we've got the acidity from the yogurt sponge. We've got the spice in there as well. And then we've also got some fresh figs. So figs are very earthy, very autumnal flavours. So we're going to bring that to the dish. So we've got some figs in different elements. So we've got some simple dressed figs, and when people say dressed figs, you're literally talking about a basic sort of just sugar, diced figs, and some seasoning. So today we're going to put some black pepper in ours for a little bit of heat, and then we literally toss them all together, and then we're going to mix them up, and then that's another element for the dish for one of the figs. Another one of the figs is going to be, we're going to make a fig syrup. So the idea So the idea is to utilize the figs as much as possible in a dish. So if you're going to put figs in a dish, you don't just want to have a couple of slices. You want it to sing the flavors together of fig, yogurt, chocolate, and all of these things that we're going to put together. So we've got dried figs that are seasoned with a little bit of sea salt, and then we've got a fig syrup as well, made with soft dark brown sugar. We've also got some roasted hazelnuts on there. So the roasted hazelnuts again are going to give a really nice crunch texture to the dish, a real nutty and earthy flavour, and it's going to start bringing out a little bit of the fattiness as well from the dish. And when we talk about the profile, we're talking about the flavour balance and profile of the dish. So how we put dishes together, things that we use to complement each other. And a lot of people will say, okay, you need to do this, this and this. You, as a pastry chef, especially when you sort of get more accustomed to your skill set, what you can do and your capabilities, you can then look at different flavour profiles and pairings. I'd recommend to anyone at college, whether you're going to be a pastry chef or a hot kitchen chef or a starter chef or whatever you're going to do, get yourself a flavour profile or a flavour thesaurus, and you can have a look at real in-depth contrasts of how to put spices with sweet things, and things that pair up really well together. And then to finish off with the dish, we've got some hazelnut twills. So again, this is going to add a little bit of crunch, but also on a different texture of crunch. So it's not really hard or nutty, but it's got that real sort of crisp bite to it, almost like tempered chocolate would. So the whole dish in a whole is going to represent sort of the autumnal forest, the autumnal floor of different colours and things changing. So we're going to have some fresh flowers from coppercress and some herbs. These are going to really bring out characteristic flavours from the dish, like the nuttiness, the sourness, the sweetness. And then we've got a little twist in there as well. So we've got a little floral basil notes going through the dish, and this is going to really add a sweetness and complementary feel to the finish of the dish in the palate. And these are going to be things that are also going to help us portray the autumnal forest. So when we're making the dishes, what we want to do is you want to put things together that are going to represent the title of the dish. If you're naming a dish on a menu, it has to represent that name, and people have to notify and say, okay, that was an autumnal forest. That is what I'd expect from an autumnal forest, and this is what we're looking for. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to go through it step by step, stage at a time, each recipe, and then we're going to put it all together. I'm going to show you how we present and plate when we do our fine dining dinner parties and stuff like that. So I started learning to cook first of all with family. So my grandparents owned a fish and chip restaurant. My mother was a very good home cook. We didn't have a massive amount of luxury growing up, so it was my mum was very talented at taking ingredients and sort of making the most out of them and utilising as much as we could. So then I decided to pursue my career into food further, my love for food. So I went off to the Institute in Colchester down in Essex, and I studied advanced diploma in catering. I then did my scholarship exchange through the Culinary Institute of America in New York, where I went over there, did some trips, purchased some course books, and started to study on a vocational program for them. I then came back straight into London, and I went straight into Pollen Street Social with Jason Atherton. I worked for Jason for a couple of years. I worked for the likes of Tom Akings, bit of time at Protruce as well, and then I decided to open my own consultancy firm for patisserie and confectionery. So we did production, international development, restaurant cuisines, and now to this day we've worked on probably around 250 plus different projects, everything from boutique luxury villa hotels to skyscraper hotels, individual restaurants, Michelin star establishments, and things like that. So it's been a very exciting journey. I've travelled about 50% of the world just through cooking and food, which has been great fun, massive learning experiences. So yeah, and now I now consult and operate restaurants and hotels in the Middle East, in Egypt, and in Europe. I think for me, as a sort of pastry chef and quite an achieved pastry chef, I'd say that If you're going to start out, I'd say start with the basics for pastry and hot kitchen, and then decide where you want to go. If you want to go down the pastry route, you have to bear in mind that it's going to be probably the hardest thing you've ever done. Number one, it takes 10 times the amount of time as standard cooking processes. It is an absolute science, weighing everything out and making sure you get everything right, and exact measurements and quantities to make things, following recipes, techniques. If it says fold it, you have to fold it, you can't cheat and whisk it. So I think, yeah, if you want to do it, absolutely go for it. It's going to be one of the most rewarding careers that I've had, and I'd recommend anyone to join to be a pastry chef. There's so many vast opportunities that, that you can achieve. You can work all over the world as a pastry chef, and at the minute people are crying out for pastry chefs, and it is an art form that has to be mastered. It does take some time, but yeah, I'd 100% recommend anyone to be a pastry chef.